When I was probably 9 years old, Christmas Eve, my mother was wrapping the Christmas gifts to put under the tree that we're going to open in about an hour, because we always opened our presents that night, Christmas Eve. So Edith and Bertram and I were playing, and they were hiding from me, and I was trying to find them. And I went in the front room. I'd looked a lot of places, and I went in the front room finally. It looked like the piano was out from the wall, and I thought they were behind it. So I climbed up on the piano stool and up over and looked down over the piano, and there's a red wagon. And I knew it was for me when I saw it. Well, my father was a person that liked to make rhymes, and he made up about 6 rhymes, and I had to go to that place to find the next clue where I had to go to find something, and another clue, and all these rhymes, and that finally led me to the piano, and I was to look behind it. And I had the red wagon, and I had to be surprised because I knew I'd get heck if I wasn't. Another time, we had a sick calf, and he had sent us up to the house with a bucket of milk with barley in it to warm on the back of the wood stove. And so we got talking to Mom up there and stuff, and pretty soon Dad comes racing up to the house, and where was that milk for the calf? And he took that milk bucket and he slammed it onto the floor, and we had barley and milk all over the ceiling and walls. And Mother went down the hall and lay on her bed and laughed, and Edith and I went down the hall and laid on Mother's bed and laughed, and Daddy came in and got Edith and I to go out and clean it up. He didn't dare ask Mother to. So we had to go clean that up. He had to repaper the ceiling and the walls, and we teased him for years about barley and milk all over the ceiling. Some funny times during our time. We used to pick blackberries and sell them, earn our school clothes. Dad, one year, he contracted to weed carrots and beets in a farm to help us buy our school clothes. And of course, I was the baby. I must not have been over 7 or 8 at that time. And they'd get way ahead of me, and then I'd hoe a whole bunch up and catch up with them. I said nothing grew there, it was just weeds. But it was, the whole family went, Mother and Dad and my brother and sister and I. Take our lunch and spend the whole day until we got that field taken care of. And then in 1941, Art and I moved to San Francisco. His company he worked for, Mercer Fraser, was moving to Morro Bay, and they wanted us to go down there. And since I was taking treatments from an asthma specialist in San Francisco, Art went to the Union Hall there to see if he could get a job, and he got hired right away to work in Vallejo, building ways to build submarines. He was a pile butt, working on a pile driver. So I looked around for an apartment to rent, and I found a place in San Francisco on 25th and Alabama, about 4 blocks off the Bayshore Freeway, and we moved in there. I came home and with the car and the 2 girls, Janet and Louisa, and the day after Thanksgiving, Art's brother Jerry drove us down pulling a trailer. It poured all the way down, so he had to stay a certain speed. He couldn't go fast, so then I wasn't worried so much because I was scared to have him drive because he was a reckless driver. So Art and Jerry got it all unloaded, and he got the bed set up and the girls' bed set up, and the other furniture was brought upstairs, and the trailer emptied and the car emptied. And we got to bed, and the bed fell down. And here we are, first time ever in an apartment, and here thunk. Well, Art gets up and he puts the bed back together again. Well, apparently the damp weather loosened the glue. He ended up taking a rope and tying the bed together so we could sleep. But that was the day after Thanksgiving in November of '41. And December 7th, I woke up next morning. I said, something happened last night because they turned all the street lights out. And I didn't know what happened. and he left for work about 5 o'clock, and it was Sunday morning, and I took the girls to see Santa Claus. And the people were on the streetcar were talking about something happening until I got off and saw a newspaper. I didn't realize Pearl Harbor had happened. Well, that night when we went to bed, they ran the fire engines up and down the streets for an alarm for us to turn out our lights. We were already in bed. And I sat up in bed and I started to cry. And I said, I want to go back to Fields Landing. And Art said, for Christ's sake, shut up. He was just as scared as I was. In working at Daly's, they'd line us up against a white wall, and the managers, and take the Times paper would come down and take a picture of all of us. And then they'd blow those pictures way up and put them in the window and put them in the paper when we had a department manager sale. Well, that picture of mine was so bad that my mother said, I'm sure glad they didn't use your maiden name. And Art says, I'm glad it didn't say Mrs. Arthur French. So the head of the display department, he very conveniently lost that picture. So the next year they had to take one of me by myself to have for the, because Harmon didn't know what happened to it. Now, how's that for an insult? From your mother and your husband. We have lots of things we remember, don't we? Bits and pieces. And that's what keeps you going. I've been lucky to have such a family, my parents, my children, my grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I haven't left you. I've been watching over you. I'm with you in spirit all the time, and I love you very much.